In our previous video, we gave definition of who is a Hindu according to Savarkar. Now in this video, we will analyze the accusations against Savarkar for limiting definition of Hindu to just this geographical land of India. But before that, we need to look into the causes which made people into thinking like that. And majority of this blame lies on the shoulders of ideological successors of Savarkar, that is RSS and BJP. It has been seen that leaders of Sangh and BJP have made various public statements like everyone who live on this land is a Hindu, Muslim and Christians are also Hindus, DNA of everyone who live on this land is same, etc. And because of these statements, young Hindutvasis feel resentful and rightfully so. So if these statements are what these leaders of RSS and BJP truly believed in, then what's the need to work against the conversion or stop Hindu women from marrying men from other faiths or stop people from worshipping gods of other religions? We understand that they may made these statements because of certain political reasons, but these statements shows not only the hubris of Hindu ego, but also they are insensitive and insulting towards the peoples of other faiths. As root of this lies in Savarkar's definition of Hindu. So now we will look into what he has to say. According to Savarkar, a Hindu is primarily a citizen either in himself or through his forefathers of Hindustan and claims the land as his motherland. A Hindu then is who feels attachment to the land that extends from Sindhu to the seas as the land of his forefathers as his fatherland, who inherits the blood of the great race, whose first source could be traced from the Himalayan altitudes of the Vedic Sapt Sindhus, and which assimilating all that was incorporated and ennobling all that was assimilated has grown into and come to be known as the Hindu people, and who as a consequence of the foregoing attributes has inherited and claims as his own the Hindu Samskriti, the Hindu civilization as represented in common history, common heroes, a common literature, a common art, a common law, and a common jurisprudence, common fairs and festivals, rites and rituals, ceremonies and sacraments. Now, when RSS and BJP leaders when gave statements like everyone who lives on this land is a Hindu or DNA of everyone who lives here is same, only picks the first part of the Savarkar's definition but ignores the latter, where it talks about common history, like we Hindus identify more with Mauryan Empire, Shunga dynasty, Satavahanas, Guptas, Vijayanagar, Maratha Empire, etc. And we have common heroes like Chandragupta Maurya, Pushyamitra Shunga, Vikramaditya, who freed this land from the foreigners, or Samudragupta and Chandragupta, who takes the flag of Hinduism to the extreme points of this land, or Skandagupta, who stopped the march of Hunas, or Rana Sanga, Maharana Pratap, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, etc. We have common literature, for example, Shruti and Smritis, etc., and common art, common laws and jurisprudence, which is rooted in our Smritis, or common fairs and festival and rites and rituals, which have a long held tradition, etc. Therefore, by talking about above mentioned topics, Savarkar brought spiritual and religious aspect in his definition of being a Hindu and draws a clear line to differentiate Hindus from those who believe and follow a foreign god. Savarkar just doesn't stop here, but he further says, not that a non Hindu does not hold any of these details in common with other Hindus, but that he differs more from a Hindu than he agrees with him. That is why Christians and Mohammedan communities who were but very recently Hindus and in a majority of cases had been, at least in their first generation, most unwilling denizens of their new fold, claim through their might have a common fatherland and an almost pure Hindu blood and parentage with us cannot be recognized as Hindus. He further says they belong or feel that they belong to a culture unit altogether different from the Hindu one. Their heroes and their hero worship, their fairs and festivals, their ideals and their outlook on life have now ceased to be common with us. Like they worship heroes like Babar, Aurangzeb, etc. Or they celebrate foreign festivals like Eid or Christmas, etc. Now we can see that by talking about above mentioned topics, Savarkar brought spiritual and religious aspect in his definition of Hindu and draws a clear line to differentiate Hindus from those who believe and follow a foreign god. And he clearly, without any ambiguity, says that Muslims and Christians are not Hindus, but his ideological successors as well as his detractors on the right clearly ignored this and put whole blame on Savarkar for propounding this territorial nationalism. As we can see from our mentioned topics that Savarkar included in his definition of Hindu and Hindu nationalism, he understood that in every nation, population requires to have a common history, common mythos, common heroes, and common culture to make it a proper nation and ultimately a proper legitimate state. Because when different sections of population believes in different history, different mythos, different heroes, and follow different culture, then they can never form a cohesive unit and works towards a common goal to make their lives better and their nation strong. Therefore, to sum up the conclusions we arrived at, we can say that Savarkar's nationalism was not just a territorial one as claimed by many, as with the inclusion of concept of Holy Land and with further inclusion of concepts of common history, common culture, common rites and rituals, common heroes, etc. He clearly included spiritual aspects in his concept of nation and nationalism too. Now, was his definition perfect? According to his time, we can say that he was nearly perfect. But one aspect where Savarkar's definition is lacking is that he did not take into account those Hindus who live in foreign lands or the converted Hindus, those who have converted from foreign faiths into Hinduism. But in his defense, we have to look into the time that he lived and problems that he was facing. So now it is up to us, or should I say his followers, to decide whether we should discard his definition or to extend his definition to include Hindus living in foreign land, that is, those who have come or converted into Hinduism from foreign faiths. But for that, we need to set up few rules for them to follow if they want to convert to Hinduism. And one of them would be to consider Bharat as their new holy land, as the land of their gods that they will worship, and their loyalties will be to their fellow Hindus and towards their new holy land. In other words, we need to make Hindus a universal religion, at least politically, and to adopt the concept of Unma or global brotherhood within itself to make Hindus feel a sense of brotherhood among themselves and give birth to the feeling of in group and out group within Hindus, which will we still don't have, at least not on religious level. But the biggest hurdle that we will face will be the secular Indian state and the ultra orthodoxy of Hinduism. So, is it fair to blame Savarkar for not including this aspect in his definition of Hindu when we as a religion and society are still not ready for this? When we still have not developed the expensive mindset that is required to counter the new enemies that we are facing? Now, if you still have any objection, or any question regarding this particular topic, then please mention it in our comments and we will reply to that in our next video. And please like and subscribe, as this will mean a lot to us, and thank you for watching this video.